Think about the last time you spritzed on your favorite fragrance. What were you hoping for? To feel confident? To attract someone special? What if I told you the entire history of perfume, from its very first creation, had absolutely nothing to do with smelling good for other people? In fact, it was invented for something much more sinister: control. Let's travel back in time, over 4,000 years, to ancient Egypt. This wasn't a world of department store counters and glossy magazine ads. This was a world of gods, pharaohs, and powerful rituals. Here, in the grand, smoky temples along the Nile, perfume was born. But it wasn't for dabbing behind your ears. It was for communicating with the divine. The first perfumers were priests, the most powerful figures in society after the pharaoh himself. They were chemists, mystics, and masters of psychology, all rolled into one. They discovered that by burning specific resins, woods, and flowers, like frankincense and myrrh, they could create powerful, intoxicating smoke. This sacred smoke, called kifi, was believed to be the sweat of the gods. When the air in the temple filled with this divine fragrance, it wasn't just to make the place smell nice, it was a tool. The priests knew that scent has a direct, primal effect on the human brain. A certain aroma could make people feel awestruck, fearful, or spiritually uplifted. By controlling the scent in a sacred space, they could control the emotions of the congregation. Imagine standing in a massive, dimly lit hall. The air grows thick with a smell you've only ever experienced in the presence of the gods. You feel small, humbled, and completely at the mercy of the priests who hold the recipe. Perfume, in this context, wasn't a cosmetic. It was a direct line to the heavens, a line that only the priests could dial. It was spiritual authority, bottled. This made perfume the ultimate status symbol. If you could afford it, you were signaling that you were close to the gods, that you wielded a fraction of that divine power. Naturally, the pharaohs and the royal court wanted in on this. They saw how the priests used scent to command respect and awe, and they began to adopt these fragrances for themselves. Pharaohs like Hatshepsut and Tutankhamun were buried with enormous quantities of perfumes and scented oils, ensuring their connection to the gods continued in the afterlife. It was a power move, a way of saying, I am not just a ruler, I am divine. Over centuries, this association with power and divinity slowly began to shift. As empires rose and fell, the secret formulas of the Egyptian priests traveled across the ancient world to Greece, to Rome, and along the Silk Road. The Romans, in particular, took the concept of scented luxury to an extreme. They scented their fountains, their clothes, their pets, and even the sails of their ships. Perfume was no longer just for the gods. It was for the extravagantly wealthy. It became a symbol of earthly power and unimaginable luxury, a way to separate the elite from the common masses. From there, it was a slow burn. The association with spiritual control morphed into an association with earthly power, which then transformed into a marker of wealth and high society. The focus shifted from controlling the masses in a temple to making a statement in a royal court. It wasn't until much later, in the courts of France and beyond, that perfume began to be linked with romance and personal attraction. The idea of wearing a scent to seduce someone is a relatively modern invention, a final evolution from its origins as a tool of divine manipulation. So, the next time you pick up that bottle, remember its incredible journey. You're not just holding a beautiful fragrance. You're reholding a piece of history that began as a priest's secret weapon for controlling minds and communing with gods. It's a legacy of power, divinity, and luxury, all condensed into a single drop. And the story doesn't end here. The journey from the temples of Egypt to the boudoirs of French queens is filled with intrigue, secrets, and scandals. In our next episode, we're going to expose exactly how perfume made the leap from a tool of spiritual power to the ultimate weapon of seduction. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the secret history of scent, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next.